Outside of the Box this week is talking to competitors from this year's MRCA Finals.
Anything can happen when you're at such a high level of competition.
Midwest is a very big region. The West doesn't really meet the East that much, and you really cannot predict all the matchups you're going to get. So you kind of have to have this like ultra preparation mindset.
I will say, I think this one was the closest I've gotten to beating you.
Probably.
Yeah,
But
probably.
it's just hard with no ground game against a gigantic fourth robot.
Yeah.
So.
We've known Remy and Rachel for years and years, so we don't look forward to fighting them because they're very scary.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And this year, I decided to do a recap on the MRCA finals because, I'll be honest, it was a crazy day of a lot of really good fights. And obviously, no surprise, a lot of those really good fights included Pipeline Punch. So I have Ian here to talk about the day. Welcome to the show.
Yep.
So really funny thing is that early in the day when I had told my boyfriend that the MRCA finals were going on, he decided to go into the convenience store and buy a can of Pipeline Punch. And so I don't know if that was an omen or what happened there, but obviously you have a very good robot. I'd say, how did you feel going into the day? But, Pipeline has been consistently just really good. So I'm sure that you felt pretty good about your chances.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say anything can happen, especially with the elimination part being single elimination. I think that definitely brought a little bit of unease for me because uh with double elim, I think, if I have two chances, I can definitely make it all the way. But with one, that leaves a much tighter margin for error. And, there's anything can happen when you're at such a high level of competition.
That is true. And it truly is a high level of competition. I'm very I heap a lot of praise onto Pipeline Punch, but there were a lot of very good robots at this competition. Just, one of those you could pick, a number of them and any of them would have had a chance to win for sure. Talk about the, kind of the earlier parts of the day because, MRCA does the modified Swiss, and so you have to go through the rounds and fight and stuff like that. How were you feeling early in the day, kind of leading up to the bracket?
So my first match was Blister. And I just know that, so I was seeded against Blister because I was the number one seed. He was the lowest seed there. And Um, so I felt pretty confident going into that fight, but as you know, with Swiss, as you go further on, the fights are naturally going to become harder because, if I'm going 2-0, then I'm going to face another 2-0 bot. If I go 3-0, I have to fight a 3-0 bot to get 4-0.
That's the challenge with the way that that's set up. But still, your bot looked very good. I honestly, because there's so many fights, I don't remember them all. I'm sure you know which fight it was, but there was a fight during the day where I have to say I was a bit nervous for you because your robot had a few times where just for a few seconds it looked like it was dead, and I was like, what is happening? You never know, anything could happen and the bot could turn off, but then it would come back up and do something and then it would shut back down for a few seconds. How nerve-wracking was that for you?
Oh, extremely. I don't know. I try as much as I can to make sure that mechanically I'm good, electronically I'm good. I do the same. I load in my battery the same exact way. I cram it in there. I tape my connector. There's a lot of preparation that I try to do to make, you know, the bot can perform well, but in order to achieve that, I have to do all of my preparation steps and drive it properly. So, um, just kind of thinking about what was becoming unraveled there, that was pretty nerve-wracking. I think that was in my third round fight. So it was 2-0 versus 2-0 against Jester, who's also he's a Rose-Hulman graduate. I'm soon to be a Rose-Hulman graduate. And in that fight, I think the root cause for those brownouts was my anti-brownout device, my TVS diode and my capacitor had actually unsoldered itself and worked itself loose. So, um, yeah, that every time we made good contact, I ended up browning out.
That's
Totally.
wild. I've heard a few times lately about bots like with wires that unsoldered themselves, and I honestly didn't even know that that was a thing that could happen. So,
Oh, it's horrible. And I'm using a receiver called the XR2, and it's a tiny little drone receiver, and I'm using Fuzzhouse XR2 script to make it output PWM, and it does a no pulses failsafe mode. That makes it really easy to set failsafe. I don't have to set failsafe because it just disarms all of the devices that are connected to it. But when that happens, so I'll shut off. When I come back on, it'll connect, but I have to wait for a second for it to actually, send the zero signal and then rearm the ESC, and then I can drive. So um oftentimes I had to just sit there knowing that, okay, well, at that point I knew, okay, I'm browning out for whatever reason. When I reconnect, I have to count, 3 Mississippi before I can wiggle on the sticks and get back to moving. So that was pretty challenging for me to do. I think the last time I came back online, I just limped to the door with one drive side because I didn't wait for the other one to arm. It's crazy.
yeah, I mean, sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. Um, did you feel like any extra pressure to do well because you had won last year? And I think everybody kind of has that assumption of potentially a repeat.
Yeah, I try to quell that. I think that the underdog kind of psychology is really underrated. If I think that um, I don't like to be thought of as a favorite. I think that favoritism kind of can sometimes breed cockiness and complacency. So I try to just keep that out of my mind and focus on just winning matches.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Once you got to the bracket, how were you feeling about your potential matchups and everything? Because I mean, like a lot of really good robots and really good builders in that mix.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull it up here. I think what I saw in the bracket was I had a bye and I was gonna face the winner of Candy Striker and Chaos Blitz. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, I knew that I was I was in for a rough one. I'd faced Chaos Blitz in I believe the fourth round, and I got lucky. I managed to snipe his wheel off, but even with a wheel off, and I'm not sure if the weapon is dragging on the ground or he was crab walking, but the weapon was still roaring. And that was a very precarious match because I knew, one, if I send him up and he comes back down on me, hits my weapon stack or my drive system, then he gets to come back into that fight. So that's a very tenacious robot, Chaos Blitz. And then Candy Striker is more of the same. It's very, especially with the new aluminum beater bar. It's just able to really tank hits and maintain weapon and drive throughout the entire fight. So yeah, I knew it would be it would be pretty challenging regardless of which opponent I faced.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, seriously, they're both very good robots, and very good builders. But I mean, you managed to kind of get through, get to the end facing Carmine, and again, like crazy good robot. And Lillian has become just like an amazing, amazing driver, with that robot. What were your concerns with that one?
So obviously last year I dropped a match against Carmine. I managed to I managed to pick up a win in the end, but I think generally Pipeline Punch kind of struggles against those high kinetic energy storage beater bars, and especially that shape. It's kind of it's kind of weird to say, but like I have a hard time I have a hard time focusing on like robots that are like thin and managing to actually like track them down visually and hit them with the robot. So that was kind of on my mind. I mean, going in, I definitely assumed that, okay, not only is this robot not going to go down, if I make a mistake, it's going to hit hard. It's gonna, if it catches anything that isn't TP on my robot, it's gonna rip it out or bend it. So, that was, yeah, that was really concerning for me.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned a little bit when we were just chatting and stuff that the fight started and like neither bot moved for a second. So it was almost like kind of a like, oh, what's going to happen? And I mean, I think everybody knew that it was going to be a really good fight either way, but that was kind of funny the way that that worked.
Yeah, my assumption there was, I didn't want to take up space and then leave myself vulnerable and have less time to react to what she's going to do. I don't know, I didn't know if my forks were going to hold up. So if she decided to opt for the weapon on weapon, I'm, even though Pipeline Punch has a very large weapon, I don't have confidence in the weapon on weapon. It's burned me a bunch, and I try not to. I generally just try not to do that. So I kind of wanted to like buy time there. So that's where, you see, we both wait. She moves out towards my square, and I just kind of dart out to the side. I'm trying to already start to cook up, non-weapon on weapon engagements.
Yeah, I mean sometimes you have to kind of go with that strategy based off of what you know about your opponent for sure. I'm curious because you mentioned about being a soon to be graduate. Are you planning on trying to come back and three-peat with Pipeline next year?
Yeah, so I'm definitely obviously I'm plotting. I'm plotting. So, yeah. I think regardless of where I end up, if I end up coming back home to Hawaii or end up in, wherever life takes me, I'm planning on qualifying Pipeline pretty early, trying to get it qualified before I graduate, and that way, if I end up, yeah, even back home, I could come out and have one last hurrah, maybe.
Yeah, that is true. And I guess another question on that end, because I've heard from a lot of people like looking at most of Pipeline's fights. I've seen it on streams. I've had the joy of seeing it fight in person as well. Um, it looks like a golden dumpster robot. I mean, it just does. And obviously you've been to NHRL, didn't quite work out that time. Is that also a goal for you, is to go back and to try and get a golden dumpster?
Yeah, I think I remember talking to some friends after, and I was like, um, y yeah, basically I want to go try another run. I think NHL is very luck based. Like it just kind of feels bad. If I had my way and in a perfect world, I would love to have, bots that immediately heal themselves and you play like a best of three and it's just a driving game. That's my perfect world, but it's not that. So NHL to me is very luck based and based on the matchups and seeding. So I have some holdups there. I'm not super happy, honestly. I don't want to like throw shade, but like the Dutch oven fight when the last time I took Pipeline out there was kind of infuriating. I think that NHL has the best it's the highest level of competition. So I'm gonna keep shooting for it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the great thing that I think is amazing that's kind of come out of the growth of combat robotics is, obviously like that's like the show, but there's such a high level of competition in so many parts of the country, and it's just growing the more people get involved in the sport and the more people want to continue to iterate and improve on these designs and try to like out think each other on what design is going to be the one that kind of tops them all. And I love to see it, especially being from the Midwest. I really like to see things growing that way around here. So I next year is going to be even more exciting personally, I think.
Of
So
course.
well, I will be looking forward to seeing Pipeline come back at some point, and I guess the word is to everybody else. This is probably the bot to beat at MRCA next year. So bring your best.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Well, the episode will continue. We've got more to talk about with the MRCA final, so stay tuned. All right. So for this segment, talking about MRCA finals, I managed to get the top three antweight robots in the tournament builders together so that we could talk about that event, which was absolutely insane. I mean, I've come to really have a strong appreciation for the antweight class, although still like so small. It's really hard to work with those to me, but yeah, really exciting day for y'all. So first of all, welcome to the show.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
of course. So I really think that like a lot of people tell me this too, that antweights are like the class in the Midwest. And it really does seem that way. I mean, there's a lot of builders that are into it and it's very, very competitive. So the fact that you all were able to kind of get to the end of that day says a lot about your robots for sure. So the first thing that I want to do is just go around, especially since I don't, get to talk about antweights that much on this show. And everybody, tell me a little bit about your robot and kind of what you were expecting out of the day. So I'll go ahead and start with Ryan and talk about Ampere.
Sure. So my name is Ryan. I'm a builder here in Terre Haute, Indiana. This is my antweight Ampere. It's a vertical beater bar spinner. It started as the first robot I kind of made in combat about in February of last year. It started out as a Drisk spinner, but closer to finals of last year, I kind of modified it into a beater bar spinner. It's had a bit of success over the last year or so, and I'm still running with it today. So yeah.
What were your like? How were you feeling going into the event? Like
I mean,
looking at yeah.
finals is so hard to predict. It's one of those events that like you have robots from different parts of the Midwest. Midwest is a very big region, so the West doesn't really meet the East that much, and you really cannot predict all the matchups you're going to get. So you kind of have to have this like ultra preparation mindset where you're kind of thinking of what you're going to use against a any type of robot, and it's a lot of stuff to prepare for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, John, if you want to talk about Onyx.
So Onyx is my first attempt at a robot. So I bought the repeat robotics seller kit. And going into it, really, I didn't expect very much. This is only my third event. So really just going into kind of getting experience, and kind of like Ryan said, there's just so many people there. I've fought maybe a handful of them in a couple of smaller tournaments, but yeah, just kind of, well, it was just going to be great if I made it out of the first round, but was mostly expecting just to get those 4 fights in and gain some experience and then just enjoy the rest of the day. And obviously it turned out a lot better than that. So very happy with how that went. But yeah, it was a great experience and far exceeded what I expected to do when I went in started the day.
Yeah, sometimes you just never know. You certainly see that a lot, either going in with high expectations or low expectations and seeing the opposite of that play out. So, yeah, for sure. And then Dean, if you want to talk about poison.
Yeah, so this is my
1 pound antweight poison. It's kind of blurred. It's fully TPU. I've been going with a very similar design for the past like couple of years. In my third year, second time at finals. Nothing crazy about it. I was very highly seeded going into the tournament, so I was I knew that generally who I was gonna face, but like last year it was double elimination, so you could easily predict like if you won or lost who you're gonna get. And with the new Swiss format they had this year, you could only really predict maybe one robot, and I was still wrong anyway. So it's like you can't just prepare, and it made you have to think a lot harder about what you're gonna bump into that day. But yeah, it worked out, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, aside from just the talking about your robots and talking about how you felt going into it, I want to talk about like the day and like, just in general, like the fights that you had, how you were feeling, if there were any fights that really stood out to you as kind of like a defining moment of the day. So I'm gonna actually go in reverse order this time and go back to you, Dean. Just, talking about the actual tournament, if there were any fights that, you remember more than others, that sort of thing.
So there were a lot of close calls on the way. So I wasn't undefeated at all that day. I think it was like the third round. I lost to a horizontal curb stomp. I don't really know what happened. Like they just kind of ripped the side. They hit the wedge on the side. It was just gone. Um, yeah, I tried like modifying it this time, so it's much more like um gradual as it like in the center, so they can't catch it as much. But that didn't work. So it kind of made me like aware that there's always going to be weaknesses in your robot, and you just got to hope that you can come back after that. I mean, I had a probably like the craziest fight though. I had a battery fire in the fourth match of the qualifying against Chop Shop, and that was definitely something. They didn't have any like almost like vacuums or whatever in the arena this time, so it just completely ruined like the smell. Like that wasn't there were so many fires that day. It were like I think it was like five. It was it was just it smelled awful the whole day, but it was still pretty awesome. Other than that, I had a lot of crazy close calls that the day. Like in the finals, my wheel got hit and it just didn't really it somehow was still going. This almost got ripped off with like some screws were missing in that side. Um all the chassis, like this one is just has a bunch of holes in it. It just got completely wrecked, and like I got to rethink the geometry because it's a relatively like rectangular simple design, and that might not be the best option going in next year, so I'll have to rethink that. But overall, it was still fairly consistent, and I guess that's what matters the most.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, as I always say, if you haven't inhaled lipo smoke as a builder, then you aren't trying hard enough, I guess. I don't know. John, if you want to talk about kind of the day with Onyx, like you said, it was a little bit unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, well, we started off. I was my first matchup was against Pablo Escobar. I had just fought him in the previous tournament in a battle in the burbs here. I'm always a little concerned with the egg beater styles. They've really looked up on me a bit, the few fights I've had. Not fortunate with that one, but I think the one that really stood out the most to me was like when I fought a chop top. This is where I started to really feel like I had more control of the bot at the time, again, limited stick time with the driving it. And I felt like that was the one fight where I started to have a bit more control and precision with where I was targeting. And that kind of carried on through the tournament. Other than that, they were all great. Like after that, it was just that was one where it felt like kind of felt like the it just changed for me where it's like, okay, I'm in control here. And now it's not just I'm going around the cage randomly.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely it sounds like it was an interesting day, but with a positive result. And then Ryan, what about, your day with Ampere, which honestly, like going into it, I'm gonna be completely transparent. Like I thought Ampere was gonna win. But you got pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I got close enough to smell it, so that's good for now. But yeah, I'm going the day. I think a little worried just kind of because I didn't have as much practice as I wanted to have. But in the Swiss fights, just thinking off the top of my head, Intrusive Thoughts was a fun fight. It's a chaotic robot that bounces everywhere and is really hard to track. I also wanted to get some revenge because they beat me in Michigan earlier in the year. And I had some round out issues, so I really wanted to get back at that. Fighting Blight is always really worrying because Blight has a really adaptable front end, and it's gotten better at fighting robots like mine. So that was a hard one to go through. Luckily, I was able to like kind of out tip speed his weapon a bit, and I kind of won engagements that way. Later on, I got a buy for my first round of bracket because I had a good record coming out of Swiss, but it was a Delirium, which is Ian's TPU forkbot. It's not a fun robot to fight at all. um, and I got lucky enough to escape a lot of pins, and my weapon's just more adept at kind of hitting those sort of forks. So it worked out. And then against Onyx is probably the most that I've gotten most design changes from finals. He hit me right in the side of the weapon, and the weapon's meant to withstand that, but these carbon fiber load spreaders cracked in a circle and then pulled through the rail. So the weapon crashed in my weapon motor and released some magic smoke. So that ended the day there for going up in the bracket. But I was able to get out together for fighting Rebound from Remy for my third place match.
Yeah, and I will be, obviously talking to Remy later on, but how was that? Because I mean, just Remy is definitely known to be one of the best drivers in the game. So that had to be a fun match to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I consider Remy to be one of the best drivers in the Midwest by far. He's a very smart driver. He's able to adapt to a lot of different robots and change his fighting style to that. I fought Rebound once before earlier in the year at Buckeye Bot Bash, and it was very hard. It was just as hard this time as well. Unfortunately, he had some weapon brownout issues. So later in the fight, his weapon wasn't working as well, and I was able to get a little more free hits like that. But he's so good at maneuvering. He's so good at like using what robot he has to just beat you, just wear you down. So it was an exciting fight for sure. I was wired throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I have to ask, Dean as the winner of the event. I mean, how did that feel? Like, was it, I know you said that you were ranked higher, so I don't think it was probably entirely unexpected, but at the same time, it has to feel like a really amazing accomplishment when you've spent the day going up against all of these other really great robots.
Yeah, I've only so given that so I won one qualifier like going into this year so far, and then I got a couple other podiums here and there. But I never had a single event where I didn't lose this year, which is kind of interesting. And it was just crazy because like I've had like close moments to that before. Like I used to feel like that same way when I got third place at an event the first time. That was like insane to me. Because I went like 0-2 the event before that. And I feel like it's just like that crazy, like you don't realize it in the moment until you look back like a couple of years and then you see like the change. And that's where it really starts to hit you how crazy it is. Yeah, it was awesome. And I would like to do it again. It probably won't happen next year, but I would like to do it again next year. We'll see.
Yeah, I think most people would love to repeat in cases where they can for sure. But yeah,
Yeah,
it makes you step up your game.
yeah, I have to turn into Ian because he wins too much. It's like he won Beatles like twice in a row, and then he won Ants. Like he won Beatles and Ants both last year. He just won everything.
Yeah, we don't count that antweight one, do we?
Yeah,
Delirium.
technically, I'm the only winner who's not illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't change the rules on me this time.
Shots fired.
No, he's probably gonna come back and just do something even crazier this year.
Oh.
Now, I guess one last question now that finals has wrapped up, for everybody.
Because it was more crazy this next year.
Yeah, as I was talking a little bit earlier about like it's the end of the year, there's really not many events left, and then next year it's kind of time to start doing it all again. Everybody should have a bit of a break, but after that break, come the next year, what does that look like for everyone? So I'll go ahead and start with John this time.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really looked too far forward yet in the next year. I know there would be a few events verbally in the Chicago area. I was trying to stay in there, but like I know I might hit the Missouri one. The goal really in the I guess off season is again I bought this kit. Now I want to try to work on starting designing my own. So that's kind of my main goal to see if I can debut something new for next year. Something that, again that I designed and built from scratch. So let's see what events that gets me to. But Onyx will still be around. I'm still gonna keep fighting him. But yeah, I would just want to see if I can design one and bring something new to the match.
Yeah, totally fair. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, so I mean, for Ampere specifically, I was really happy with a lot of the performance throughout the day. I think for me, I'm looking at getting new weapons. These are great weapons, but they're a little soft, so they kind of lose their edge after a little while. And if I'm paying that much for a weapon, I want it to last for a good bit. Um, I want to get better at driving. Some of these wider vertical spinners are hard to deal with because they can out tip speed you and they can outmaneuver you. So I want to get some practice there. Looking more past that, I mean, I'm part of the Rose Holman Combat Robotics Club here, so I have a team to worry about as well, along with Ian. We both want to focus on building up the team a lot. We're hoping to have the first Rose 30-pounder come to Norwalk next year, so that'll be a lot of my focus over the next couple of months. We also have beetles and stuff that we build up, and a lot of that will be coming to Indivier competitions. So a lot of fun stuff of combat going on. All of it may not be directed towards Ampere, but I'll definitely be having fun.
Yeah, for sure. And Dean, what about you?
Um, so I might not do my first event till like April because that's usually when the Michigan ones start up. I don't know. I don't think I'll be too busy this winter, so I might try to really look into little details. Like there's some things that I've just left unchanged on my robots for like quite a while now that I've seen a lot of people moving away from, and I feel like I could make more improvement that way. And they also I've also had a lot of problems with maintenance in the pits and like barely making the fight. So I got to make it a lot more of like a chill day because I've had a lot of stressful events where it's like, why won't this work? It takes forever to fix this one little thing. Why do I have 50 screws to take off for this one thing? And that's probably the biggest problem right now, but it's not like crazy bad, but that's definitely the first thing I would look at, maintenance probably and ease of use to work with it.
Yeah, I mean that those all sound like good plans, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing all of you competing in MRCA events next year, and hopefully see everybody at finals again. I think that would be pretty exciting. So, well, thank you all for joining me. If you're watching this episode, there is more to come. Obviously, a lot of robots, lots to talk about. So stay tuned. All right, and we are back to talk about both ants and beetles. We've talked about both already a little bit earlier in this episode, but of course, as many know, Remy and Rachel have lots of various robots in both weight classes and did pretty well at finals. So welcome to the show.
That's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yes, for sure. I'm now a Michigander as well, or whatever you want to call it. So
Congratulations. Better than Michiganian.
So I'm excited to talk about just finals from y'all's perspectives because it has to be a little extra pressure, a little bit more work, obviously, running bots in both weight classes. But before we get into the actual event, how did you feel just about the season in general and kind of the lead up to finals?
It's been a pretty crazy year for us. We're just lucky that we even got to go to as many events as we did. And we qualified 3 bots between us, 2 beetles and an ant. And that's enough to keep your hands full already. But we were trying with one more ant, but didn't make it.
My
It was a
new
new
ant
robot.
didn't make it in, which is fine. It was a huge style robot called Truncator. And we took it to Minnesota at the last qualifying event to see if we could get it in, and it didn't happen. But we had a lot of fun fights there.
Yeah, throughout the season, it's been kind of rotating through what we want to run and not. Wicked Wedge, I ran more in the beginning of the year. I didn't actually make any changes for it this year. Rachel ran Candy Striker pretty frequently, and at the last minute changed her whole beater bar. But we were pretty happy with the 2 beetles going in. Rebound was
Your aunt.
an unfinished experiment still. And
for an unfinished experiment, you did quite well.
Yeah, but where 2 of the 3 robots randomly turn off whenever you hit something too hard, which is a small problem. But we worked through it, so.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Gremlins happen, but as long as you figure them out, you're probably going to be okay. Let's talk about just the event, leading up to the fight, like the bracket and everything else like that. Because obviously you both had pretty good days. It's a high level of competition. I mean, MRCA, I feel like it just continues to ramp up every year because there's more people that are building now. There's people that are starting to come in from places that maybe weren't before and competing. So it's really gotten to be quite competitive. Just talk about that, like the qualifying rounds and everything, and the level of competition that you faced.
Well, for me, for qualifying, so I was driving Candy Striker. So it used to be a FingerTech beater bar. Now it's got one of DJ's new
aluminum
beaters. It's a prototype, but we ran it. This is the first event we actually ran it at, was finals. So we weren't sure if it was going to work. Candy Striker is one of our oldest robots, so we tried a bunch of different things, but I ultimately ended up getting paired against Marg from Emily as my first fight, and I lost. So in order for me to qualify, I actually had to win every single fight afterwards.
Yeah.
So that was a little stressful, but with the way that we did the matches this year, so in previous years, it's been double elimination for the bracket for the finals. But this year, what we did was a 4-round qualifier that is group stages. So in order to make it into the final bracket, we had to win at least 3 of 4 fights or 4 of 4. So this lost immediately. So I had to go back and then work my way up. So I won the next 3 fights, and I actually got to qualify, which I was very happy about.
Yeah, it's not great being on the back foot, but
Emily's a good driver and she's a good bot builder. So I have no I'm not that disappointed. I knew it was going to be a hard fight to begin with, but we learned a little bit at the very beginning, especially with the new beater.
For a robot that has no configurations and no wedge, I mean, it held up pretty well. So
yeah,
that part was a success.
Yeah.
I ended up on the back foot the same way with Wicked Wedge. Pretty early on, I was up against Miles, which is another example of just how the level of competition has increased. We had Miles with Chaos Blitz and a lot of other robots from outside of what you traditionally consider the MRCA area. But yeah, being down the first fight, you don't have a lot to lose in the fights after that. So
give it all you got.
Yeah, you just send it.
It's been nice having the additional competitors, though. Like, it was nice to see Miles again. Traditionally, I think we've only seen him in Tennessee or Norwalk, but it was nice to have him up in Wisconsin to compete with us. And then
a lot of Team Defective members.
A lot of Team Defective members from
Will
Pennsylvania.
and Mike and Michael.
Yep.
And even we had a guest appearance with Alex with Cheesecake, although he didn't bring his robot. He did come by and check everything out. It was pretty cool talking to him. So it really does feel like it's expanded beyond a regional event now, and we're just happy to see it grow and like the level of competition increase. Even people who are from the Midwest, I would say every year, but really every event, a lot of them have new stuff, and the level of development's been really impressive, especially with Beetles, because I think there was a lot more room to grow.
Definitely.
Yeah, ants seem to be really, really competitive in the Midwest compared to like anywhere else that I know of. And Remy, you said Rebound is like kind of an experimental robot.
Yeah, Rebound is definitely not optimized. It's made out of like old drive pods that were stolen off of the Aunt Rachel was running last year, ASMR.
It's a parts bin if you want to liken it to something built in the automotive industry. So basically you just take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think the electronics came out of Mud Skipper.
some
Some
mud
of
skipper,
them.
some ASMR, whatever.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff cobbled together and some motors you bought
Take
a couple years
ASMR,
ago.
make it wide, put a hub motor in the middle. That was the strategy.
And it worked.
In the beginning, it didn't even. It lasted like a minute and 30 seconds with the battery. So in the very last like 3 days before the event, I just redesigned a giant notch in the frame to put a bigger battery in,
like 50% bigger.
Just hope that nobody hits it, because there's like 2 millimeters of TPU in front of it. But it didn't get hit somehow. But
yeah, you got pretty lucky.
Everything else got hit. Everything else got hit though. But it's fun. It's very fun. It's fun to have a chaotic robot. So, I mean, Wicked Wedge is also pretty chaotic, at least in its self-righting. And Candy Striker is always flipping around. So
yeah, it's symmetric. So if you flip it upside down, I have I say I have a switch programmed. Remy programmed me a switch so that I can flip over and drive still. Because in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's hard to think about that type of thing. Oh, I need to start driving backwards.
You want to pull ahead all of the thinking possible to not in the fight. Put it all in the transmitter and then just practice it so you remember what button to hit.
Yeah.
It's easier. And then you got to practice. Of course, if you have an arena in your house, it's kind of a small advantage too for that.
That does improve things for sure. Let's talk about the finals. At least on the antweight side, kind of sticking with rebound. I mean, like you said, I think you maybe were surprised that you kind of got that far with it, but I mean, that's pretty good for a bot that you didn't necessarily feel 100% confident about.
Yeah, it was Remy was practicing I think it was the night before we packed up, because we went a day or two early to help set up. So Casey, of course, brought both of the arenas, but we went a day early so that we could help him set up arenas and everything else at the event space. So we were packing up in a hurry the night before, and you had started driving him around. And I think 2 of the 3 robots, like you said, were restarting on big hits. So it's like, oh, well, this is as good as it's going to get for the moment. Pack it all up. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah. We mixed and matched a bunch of parts. Whenever I went against a horizontal, I have a wedge module, and then the wedge module doesn't ever turn off because it's not drawing a lot of power. So that helped with the first round of finals with Curb Stomp. Mm-hmm. And then the fight against Rebound and Titus was one of the crazier fights that robot's been in.
Titus is a very good robot.
Yeah, Titus is solid. I could barely out tip speed it. And I did win that fight barely, just because Titus's battery was basically dead at the end. I got a couple of pins in, but then he also had broke my whole weapon assembly, so I'm probably going to send that over to him after I take it apart. And I checked my battery at the end. If my weapon didn't break, I probably would have run out of battery. So it was probably a good thing that it broke halfway through the fight. So sometimes you get lucky like that. And then we made it. Then I got through the third place
match,
the semifinals first, and then Poison had already fought once earlier on, and it was closer. This time it wasn't as close, but it's one of the top ranked robots in the antweight division, so there's nothing to be surprised about there. And then I got another good rematch with Ampere, so another beater, kind of like Titus. And there were no easy wins, but just making it to the top 4 is an achievement, definitely, with the way ants are now.
Yeah, and Remy, having started basically, well, not entirely from scratch at the beginning of the year, but like you said, using parts that we had available and then trying to figure out how to design around that. And then the first event you went to this year with it, you won.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at Jared's event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been iterating on it throughout the months and making things better. And
there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a clean sheet, drive pods. Anyway, whenever there's a good opportunity, there will be an improved rebound out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame all the driving stuff on me because I designed all of that. And he just used the remnants because we're like, oh, let's just keep using it if it doesn't break.
Well, the tangent drive pods were made before there was any repeat tangent motors or anything. Yeah. So it was all done from scratch. But now with some bespoke stuff, to definitely optimize it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it for sure. Now you both ended up making the top four in Beatles, which I don't know if it ever went through your head of like, well, what if we face each other?
It
But
hasn't happened in a while. I think it's probably actually been about what,
It
2
happened in a
years?
mashup.
Did
I don't know if it
happen in
happened
a mashup?
last year or this year, but yeah, I think Candy Striker and Wicked Wedge have fought at least 3 or 4 times at this point.
Officially, and then we spar occasionally, just for fun.
So we know it could happen, and we know that it will be a fun fight no matter what.
I will say, I think this one was the closest I've gotten to beating you.
Probably.
Yeah,
But
probably.
it's just hard with no ground game against the gigantic fork robot.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But we always enjoy it. I think it's especially funny doing it in front of a crowd that doesn't know that we're married. That's always really fun. I think we've had that happen like multiple times. Even we've fought with at Norwalk. We fought each other before. It wasn't Candy Striker, it was Monkfish versus Wicked Wedge, but that was a very good fight.
Yeah, Rachel wins that one. So whatever my record of Candy Striker Wicked Wedge is, when it's Monkfish is a little different. It's the opposite.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fun to fight each other. I'm getting better. It pushes me a little bit more and more every time to actually get better at driving. I'm not the best driver out there. It takes me a while to adapt. It takes me a while to learn how to tune the robot in and get things set up beforehand. And so it's really rewarding to see that incremental progress, even though it's at your detriment.
I'm happy to lose to you any day if it's a good fight, as long as I don't drop a drive side the first 2 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're happy. What it meant for us is, well, at least one of us is getting a trophy then.
Yeah, I was a little bummed. I've yet to win a trophy at finals. This gentleman right here has won 3 or 4 years, or he has
I think I might be the only person that's won a trophy every year, if
Yeah,
you
so
think about it.
placed
But-
every year in at least one class.
Yeah, but I also helped create the tournament, so of course I'm going to be around since the beginning of it.
I'm curious, like, being able to do so well with a bot like Wicked Wedge, does it make it extra satisfying? Because it's more of a challenge. Like you have to be a good driver to have a control bot like that because you don't just win on accident.
Yes, so it is definitely more stressful, but looking at where it is versus the next control bot and what other control bots are up there, it is very satisfying to have one of the only like fully custom control bots that's super competitive and people are afraid of it, or at least they seem they definitely are very tentative. they respect the giraffe, which I appreciate. So sometimes you're like, oh, why did I do that to myself? But when you have a good fight, and especially when it's a goofy giraffe flipping around, you're like, yeah, people are enjoying this. I enjoy this.
Well, and think about where you started with it. That was literally the first robot you designed ever.
Yeah, so it's been 4.5 years basically,
Yeah.
and it's in a really good place. There's a couple of small things to do, but it is satisfying. It is cheaper in some ways too, but that's not really the point. The point is just to do something different, and that is definitely fun. Even if I have second thoughts every now and then. That's why we have
When you
other
have to
robots.
go and you're like 1 week before and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to print X amount of parts because that many got destroyed at the last competition.
Yeah, that's what happens with the control bot. We're like, well, it looked okay. Oh, it's kind of split in half. Oh, well, that's because you just got beat up for 2.5 minutes by Pipeline Punch. Oh, really? You should be happy you have anything left. So.
Yeah, Pipeline's a pretty scary robot. I would not be happy about fighting Ian. So
I fought him 3 times with Candy Striker.
Yeah.
And I've actually gotten better. I got a split decision this time fighting him, I think.
It was close.
It was really close. His weapon went down about, I don't know, halfway through the fight, something like that. I can't remember. And when he did a check at the very end of the fight, it came back on.
It wasn't totally dead. It was struggling, but
Yeah.
It
So
was close.
I'm getting better and better, considering that I started with a very basic finger tech beater bar because I didn't know how to design weapons. But like, okay, what can we get off the shelf just to try? Let's try making it. It's the first weapon robot that we designed. So I couldn't even drive it by myself at first. Our first competition, Remy was doing the weapon while I was doing the driving, and that went okay. And I learned how to drive with my own weapon later on. But considering where it started at and where it is now, and the fact that I can have a chance against something like Pipeline Punch, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah, that's a good result.
Mhm.
Well, now that the MRCA finals has wrapped up, what's your plan for the rest of the year headed into 2026?
We got one
So
thing left to do.
we
One
have
thing
one
left
thing
to
left
do.
this year. So I qualified for the NHRL finals with my beetle monkfish. So we have about 2 weeks left to get everything together for that. We just happened to both be on a business trip this week, so we haven't had time to actually do any printing or anything like that. So I need to start printing stuff, assembling, checking, doing all that fun stuff. As Remy mentioned, we have our own arena, so we've got that set up in the garage. I've got plenty of opportunity, so there's no excuses. I need to get all my stuff together and all my ducks in a row.
Yeah. It's a little rush job, but we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. I think my stage, I don't remember the name of the robot I'm fighting first. Radix. I believe it's an undercutter, which is generally not a good matchup for me. But we've got a couple of changes, I think, that Remy tested out on his version of Monkfish called Chanacops earlier this year. So I think that'll be a good starting point. So I need to print a bunch more parts to assemble a robot in that configuration. And I think Glenn is also in that same grouping.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be paired against him if I won or lost or whatever that would be.
So there's a chance for redemption. It's going to be some crazy fights and one more event, and then maybe take a little break,
Yeah.
breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
It would certainly be well deserved. So we all need a little break sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exciting. I certainly expect to see, one or more of your robots amongst the ranks of MRCA next year as well. It's always a yearly thing. Everybody knows to, expect that you're going to bring your A game to events. So yeah, exciting stuff. There is a little bonus segment coming in this episode. So for those who are watching, I know people are used to 3 segments. You're getting 4 today. So stay tuned and keep watching. And thank you for joining me. All right, everyone. Now it is time for let's call it a bonus episode, or not episode, but a bonus segment of this discussion on the MRCA finals. And I say it's a bonus segment because we've talked about beetles, we've talked about ants, but I really want to focus on one beetle in particular that has always been one that I have thought was awesome, especially because has a really great builder and driver. But I have Michael and Lily Schorr here with me to talk about I've heard it pronounced Carmine. Let's put to rest the discussion of how it should be pronounced.
It has been Lil's decision. I've left it up to her. How is it pronounced?
Carmine.
Carmine. But I'm usually typing about it, so it's easier just to type it out and not think about it. But I remember when we first built the robot, we didn't really know how it was going to be pronounced, so we just left it to her. So it is Carmine.
Okay, so we're talking about Carmine, and first of all, like you mentioned about building it, I want to talk about that first because I don't think I've ever really gotten to talk a lot about this robot on the show yet. So I'd love for like my listeners, my viewers to hear the full background.
Right. Well, so we still have the one copy from finals that did not catch on fire. The other one's still in our garage. It smells a little better, but not much. But this right here is a Carmine. I built it first for Lil last year for her first competition was Smirk, which I think was in June. So I first started designing it, I think around, I think probably February, March. I kind of wanted another Beetleweight to work on because we've been working on my dad, his Voxel. So that's been fun to work on for the past few years, but I kind of wanted something else, and I knew it was getting to the point where she was going to have her own robot soon. So I just decided, I didn't know what kind of robot she wanted, so I just decided to just make a smaller version of my 12 pounder. And there's a lot of good resources now with like, obviously, links. The Peter Bar kits were just came out, and there were just a lot of good like references for, sizing things and stuff. And I just wanted to try something else. And so I put it together for her, and she had no idea about it last year. It was a complete surprise up until the night before Smirk when it still wasn't ready. But it hasn't changed too much since then. It's a pretty, the construction is probably pretty standard for most Beetleweights these days, but it's got the UHMW side rails. It's running repeat compacts, which you can see are indirect driven. So the motor's in the middle. So that way these back wheels can get ripped off, torn apart. It doesn't matter too much. Then up here is the egg beater that is probably one of the more memorable parts of this robot, I think. I think it weighs somewhere around 10 ounces on its own, which is like a little under 300 grams for the metric folks. But I don't think anything about it is super crazy out of the ordinary. I just wanted to try to build something super clean and try to make it not break because I had a feeling that she would drive it a little crazy. But it's just been a fun little project to work on. It's very fun having a smaller version of your 12-pound robot. And this one's been a lot easier to enjoy and have fun with than the big one. But it's been a fun project, and I'm pretty happy with it right now. I don't have any big changes with the robot for the future, but yeah, it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, for sure. And Lily, your brother mentioned Smirk, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that you did pretty well at that event and you actually beat your dad. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Being smirked last year.
Yeah, in 2024.
Yeah, so that was your first event driving. Like I said, she didn't know about it at all until like the night before. So she really had no preparation. But I think that was a long event like a year ago, but I'm guessing your favorite fight of that event was probably fighting Dad, but I don't know. We try not to bring that one up in this household. But it was a fun fight. It was a good event too. So
I would imagine so. Now, speaking of the driving end of it, something that I wanted to ask you about, Lily, is that, I would love to see more and more female builders and drivers in this sport. And anybody who goes out and does it, I mean, for me personally, I consider a big inspiration, but I'm curious if, aside from your brother, if you had any big inspirations when you decided that you wanted to start competing in combat robotics.
she hasn't been competing since last year, but she's been around competitions for 5-6 years. I mean, you've met a lot of BattleBots builders at Norwalk. You went to BattleBots. I don't know, any of those you look up to? You got a pretty cool list of people you've met.
Probably you, because I've like known you for a while, like longer than everyone else.
Well, that makes sense. Is there anyone else?
When I went to BattleBots, I looked up to the driver from Shred It that my brother and dad were on a lot.
Our good friend Evan Arias, who invited us to BattleBots years ago. Lo has been a big fan of Evan's, even though she's a little shy to admit, but she's looked up to Evan for quite some time. But I know there's a few others. She's a little shy about it, but I know she's looked up to a lot. And remember, I think it was Norwalk finals like 2021 or something. It might have been the first Norwalk she attended, but she went around the pits and had like a sign of autographs and got autographs from JMO, most of the Shreddit team, and a lot of the builders there. And you were just going up to people getting autographs. So, I mean, I was working on my robot, and you were just coming back with more and more autographs. So it was cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience once you start getting into it because there are certainly a lot of really amazing people in the sport to look up to and want to learn from. And that's part of the great thing is that there's so many people willing to teach and like,
Right.
help people learn. So I think
Yeah.
that's amazing.
It's super awesome. Everyone's so helpful. It's so cool.
Yeah. Now for this finals, what was the like preparation like? Like was some people just like don't necessarily do anything really to prepare, they just kind of go into it, but was there some type of, strategy or plan kind of heading into it?
Well, yes, there was. It was probably different for me and Lil. I had to, I mean, get the robot ready was my strategy, which I luckily didn't have to do a lot. I think the last competition before MRCA finals was Smirk this year. So we had some time to get the robot ready, and that was okay. My strategy is try to get it ready and give her a copy to try like practice driving with, like the week leading up to it. Because we have our test box down in our garage, which is meant for the 12 pounders. So there's a lot of room for the 3-pounders to practice in there. I think I got you a working copy like early in the week. I know I told you to do like your homework was to do a test drive every night, I'm pretty sure. I think I got a video like once or twice, but did you do anything else like mentally? Did you prepare at all, or you just sit in the car ride and fight? So we have a bit of a different approach. I try to get the robot ready, and based on who she's fighting and who's going, get her different configurations ready, and it really comes down to me just trying to tell her how to start the fight. But I think a lot of the time she just goes and it works out. So I tried not to like honestly tell you too much before the fight because at this point it's kind of working. Like the less I try to make you prepare, it's just drive the robot and it kind of works out. But
I can completely understand that because my daughter has only started competing and she's pretty YOLO when it comes to
yeah,
going to a competition.
there's
So
there's a very clear difference in how like me and the rest of my team drive our robots versus like Lil and all the other kids in the sport. It's very scary having to drive against like a 14, 15-year-old who just is all go, to say the least.
yes, I think sometimes the best strategy is no strategy and just send it.
At this point, that's kind of what I've gathered. Like, I'll keep it to myself, maybe. I don't know. I just won't tell her. I'll usually tell her like how fast to start her weapon at the start of the fight. That's it. That's about it. So
It
other than
seems to
that, it's
work.
just
Yeah, it seems to work pretty well. Lily, did you have any like favorite fight of the day at finals? Like, was there any fight that you really enjoyed?
Probably my fight with Remy.
that was a good fight. That's a hard fight. Remy beat me with that robot earlier in the year, so I was probably way more nervous than you were. But
I definitely can appreciate that. Remy is on my short list of people that I would love to have a fight against just for the sheer entertainment of it.
yeah,
So
that's, we've known Remy and Rachel for years and years, so we don't look forward to fighting them because they're very scary, but it was still cool. It was cool to match up against them, but I
for
was
sure.
I was not confident in that fight going into it. I didn't tell you that, but I was very nervous, but that was a fun fight.
Understandable. I'm curious, like just kind of throughout the day and looking at how, all of the bots were doing and, who was at the top and who you could potentially match up against. I don't think anybody was super surprised that Pipeline Punch ended up in the finals after being the winner last year.
Mhm.
Um, what's the kind of the thought process of, well, I mean, this is probably a question more for you, Michael, of like, how do you prepare for a bot like that? Because it sounds like Lily was probably just like, just go and see what
Yeah. Yeah,
happens.
I knew her plans already, so it's definitely tough, especially it's Pipeline's such a good robot. I mean, I don't even have to say that. It's obviously well known, but the fact that there's, a lot of similar robots popping up, like the big vertical discs and the forks, and he's still by far the best of them is, I mean, I knew we were going to match up against him at some point. My dad had to fight him like his second fight of the day, which was rough. But I knew if the brackets worked out that way, it was probably, it was going to work out at some point. Um, it's kind of a tough matchup inherently, just because how much reach he has, and Carmine's not super mobile at turning. So I'm trying to think. I think we fought last year at MRCA finals, and I think she was winning a lot of like weapon to weapon engagements, things like that. Um, I think I got kind of bit by the fork decision looking back on it. The floor was getting really beat up by the end of the day, so I wanted to run just the safest, least likely to get stuck in the floor. Um, and maybe it was fine, I don't know. But I mean, I remember he had some really giant like steel forks on the front for that fight, that he used against my dad, and I knew it was gonna be tough. He's super, super good at staying planted on the ground. I think what I do remember from that fight is at the start, I think Lil spun up, he spun up. I remember I told Lil before the fight, just wait a second, see where he goes, just, don't rush right out of the gate. The fight starts, they both spin up, and no one moved for like 2 or 3 seconds. And then she just beelined across the box, and after that it was what it was. But it's a tough fight. He's a really great builder. He gets so many reps in with that robot, so he knows how to drive it and get it ready. So um, I can't say I'm too surprised. He definitely he earned it. Not a debate. Um, but definitely have some things in the works for the next time. So it will not be the same robot at all. But
Yeah, I have no doubt. And honestly, making it all the way to the finals, regardless of the outcome, is a really big accomplishment because I feel like MRCA has been really leveling it up over the past couple of
oh,
years. There's just
100%.
so many really
Oh,
amazing
100%.
builders. So like it's no surprise that a lot of those builders have kind of gone out to NHRL and things like that to kind of see how they do against that level of
Yeah.
competition.
And Tristan and Elytra couldn't make it because I don't know. I mean, I don't know the specifics of why, but I know he's qualified for Norwalk finals and very well deserving of it. It's a very scary robot. So though the Merca competition's gotten so good the past few years, and it's really a lot different than like the Norwalk or kind of East Coast scene. And it's harder in a lot of ways because like a lot of the robots are a lot more mobile, and they're just able to capitalize on like driving errors, which is not as like prominent if you go to Norwalk where you have these heavy hitters where it's just weapon to weapon, weapon to weapon. You have to be durable, but Merca, it's like a lot of the fights you can win just by being smarter, more agile, and it's a really cool there's community and kind of group of robots I'm still getting familiar with, but there's a lot of cool robots.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I have a couple more questions I wanted to touch on. One of those was actually I really wanted to talk a little bit with both of you about just the STEM education and robotics and STEM education because your area definitely has a very prominent program, and you've been part of it, Michael, and now Lil's part of it. So I want to talk about that because I wish more communities had something like that. I think that it's so super important, and I love to see young people like getting pulled into
Right.
that.
No, I agree. I think, we're specifically really lucky that we have in the Pittsburgh area, the Southwest PA, there's a program called Southwestern PA Box IQ, which actually grab. Oh, it's been going on for like 20 something years. There you go. I'll take you. And I was a part of it when I was in high school. Zach, the builder of Lunatic, he was a part of it. Zach's brother, he was in it in high school. The Dwarflers, Joe and Don Dwarfler, they were a part of it. And now Will's a part of it. And Trevor, also on our team, he built Void and competed with Voidling. All of us went to the same high school at different times, just by coincidence. And we have, it's not even a class, it's an after school club. And some schools have it as like an actual class, which would be ideal because then you just have, 40 minutes a day to work on robots. But Plum's program's always been like after school, a couple days a week. When I was on the team, our mom actually was the advisor for several years because we didn't have there was no teacher at the school that was able to do it. And so it was mostly like a student parent led thing. And I guess, well, I have to give my mom credit because she's the one that signed me up for it way back freshman year just to get me out of the house. And I was genuinely mad at her for it until I got to the first competition, got hooked, built a robot over the summer, and now we're here. So now Lil's a freshman. She gets to join the team now, but they've gotten so much more cool stuff since when I was on the team. I think NHRL did the charity grants at World Champs a couple years ago. So the Dwarflers gave a portion of theirs to the Plum High School robotics team. And so they've gotten 3D printers, tools, parts, and they've gotten you get to go to competitions. You have a cage in the school. Yeah, they have a cage in the school that they got to go and just have a tournament at during the day. And you got to miss school again last week, the other week for another tournament downtown, and so she's having a million times more fun than I ever did. But I mean, even for me it was just after school, hang out, build robots. It was just awesome. It was so cool to just be able to have a place to just tinker, make things where it wasn't directly your own money. And it was just so fun. I had so much fun. We had COVID hit us my junior year. So then in my senior year, we only had one small competition, but Lil's going to hopefully have the full experience, and the team's in such a good spot right now. So I'm super excited for your next few years on the team. So we're very lucky to have that in our area. Definitely.
Yeah, that's very awesome. And I guess my last question with, the awesome driving, the, really great bot, and, seeing the kind of rising prominence at NHRL of younger people doing very well. Of course, most recently, Evan with Sir Slicey, winning a golden dumpster. So golden dumpster for Carmine when?
Oh, I mean, I'm convinced she'll win hers before me. Fun fact, I just realized the other day was my 5-year anniversary of competing at Norwalk, which is kind of scary. But NHRL is it's so difficult these days, but so cool because literally anybody could, just make a run in the day. Like you mentioned, Sir Slice, his run was amazing. We were all screaming at our TV watching that event. But we haven't really planned out our events for the future. I know we're, your next tournament you're signed up for.
Motorama.
We are signed up for Motorama in February. After that, I'm not sure, but I don't know. I know we definitely prefer the MRCA events being smaller and not as crazy hectic, if you can believe that. But it would be cool to take it back to Norwalk at some point. I don't know if it's on the very soon list, but I think it's gotten a lot better since we took it last time. And I don't know. I have a 12-pound robot that I'm also not too sure what I'm doing with next year. So maybe, I don't know, we could do a bot swap or something. Do something, I don't know. But it'd be cool to bring it out to Norwalk at some point. But she'll definitely be hoisting a dumpster before me. I'm pretty convinced. No.
I mean, I have every confidence. You know, like I think that you know, you're doing a great job, Lil, and I look forward to seeing more of what you do with Carmine. So, well, I appreciate you both joining me. I think, you know, a very exciting stuff. You know, very promising future in the sport. Yeah, thank you. And for those that are watching this episode, please keep watching, liking, subscribing, supporting combat robotics, supporting STEM, and we'll see everybody next time on the show.